Konnichiwa. Watashi wa David Wheldon desu. JAA no minasama. Subarashi kaigi o kaisai shite kudasari arigatou gozaimasu. Mata warawari WFA o kono utsukushi kuni ni shotai shite kudasari kansha shitai imasu. It's going to go on. Watashi no nihongo wa amare ako neno de koko kara ego de hogashimasu. I'm sorry about slaughtering your language, but I thought we should try a bit of local in this global. I urge you to look outside at the great board that Scriberia have been painting as they've been listening today on the theme of client leadership. And actually this was my favorite image they've got there, which I think is what we're trying to talk about now in our media charter, the need to rebalance the industry and the principle of greater respect for all parties concerned, but above all, for our consumers, for the people that we serve. Now, as you know, the last 18 months have been very challenging times for the marketing sector. Here are some of the headlines, whether it's been about brands funding terrorism, ad fraud, recently about Cambridge Analytica, transparency overall, I think. And actually, you can see in every WFA CMO forum around the world, these are the concerns that have been driving the conversation. That, the red bars there, are highlighting what people are worried about. And actually, you've seen clients speak out. I'm intrigued that clients, when they speak out, must do this. This is Mark Pritchard, the CMO, global CMO of Procter & Gamble, and Keith Weed, the global CMO of Unilever, speaking out about the need for transparency, particularly in the digital ecosystem, the need for better metrics, and the need for change. And actually, that's the theme that we pick up against this backdrop, because once upon a time, if the global CMOs of the two biggest spenders in the world had spoken out, everybody would have listened. But today, the digital duopoly have over 25% of the total marketing spend in the world, and actually the profits of Google, great though it was to listen to them before, weren't in the slightest bit dented when 250 companies, including the one I work for, withdrew their advertising from YouTube last year because of brand safety issues. This ecosystem has changed dramatically. And it's time, we think, and forgive the pun, to draw a line in the sand, to rebalance the relationship, the tripartite relationship between clients, agencies, and media owners and platforms, and to make sure that we restore Zen-like harmony in this industry, which has been through a phase of real disruption. And that's why what we're launching today is our Principles for Partnership, our WFA Media Charter. This is a work in progress, I should tell you, but actually it's a document that establishes the principles for partnership. And as one of your wonderful proverbs says, one arrow may be easily broken, but 10 in a bundle, not so. And today we are looking at the fruits of the work of 10 of our major clients and 10 of our major associations around the world who've collaborated to come up with these principles. I'm not going to read them all out to you. You can see them for yourselves there, but I will highlight a couple that I think are really important. Transparency throughout the supply chain. Where does the money that all of us clients invest in marketing, and in particular in digital marketing, where does it go? What impact is it having? How do we know that this marketing is being effective? So the call there for third-party verification and measurement as well. And actually, probably the most difficult one that we're going to work on together in the coming months is number 6, which is the removal of walled garden and data portability issues. So that's our media charter. Now, forgive this image, but with great power comes great responsibility. And at no time in the history of this industry have two companies had such a dominant position in the ecosystem, and that's the digital duopoly. We urge them to take their responsibilities seriously, to make sure that the content that's carried on their platforms is the kind of content that our advertising can sit alongside. And in that context, we were delighted to read Facebook's announcement yesterday of the content that they've taken down and the principles that they themselves are now applying in a post-Cambridge Analytica world. But of course, I must also point out here that brands have responsibilities too. We have a responsibility to make sure we reward people fairly throughout the ecosystem. I loved what Raoul was talking about first thing this morning in his urge for partnership with agencies, his urge for fairness of remuneration as well. And I also particularly liked our Upping the Elvis story about never letting go of the instinct that allows for great creativity. But we brand owners have responsibilities too, because some advertising has been landing in places it really shouldn't. And actually there are two people we partner with around the world who take this responsibility very seriously. The 11 leading alcohol providers of the International Alliance for Responsible Drinking want to ensure that none of their ads are ever seen by minors. And the Food Federation around the world also want to make sure that none of their advertising is seen by people under 12. And we work closely with them to do that. So as they look for reach and frequency, what they also look for is brand safety and responsibility. This chart is one of my favorite products of the wonderful organization that is the WFA. By now, I would describe this, I think, as infamous. What it shows is what happens to $100 invested in the digital supply chain and the ultimate impact on a consumer. And at worst, that $100 only has $28 worth of impact, because within this supply chain, lots of people are taking a margin. They are taking a margin in untransparent fashion. This supply chain is what we're challenging to be much more transparent and to be open, and particularly around pricing and trading. We think this transparency should be non-negotiable, particularly around the fees and costs that all partners charge. And remember, this is from the point of view of everybody in the ecosystem needs to make a profit, but they need to make it in fair and transparent fashion. We also want to make sure that placement is done correctly, and above all, that data usage is respected. Now, this too is an onus on us brand owners to make sure that we collect and use data in the right way, that we're transparent and ethical in how we do that as well. But here, we're really placing some demands on the ecosystem that we haven't done before. But the context, I hasten to add, is another one that we've talked about at the WFA, which is remembering that the most important thing about this data is it belongs to human beings. And we must respect the principle of privacy, the principle of a human being to choose how their data is used, to choose how they want to have a value exchange with those that market to them, and to make sure that that's also done in the correct way. And we think that if that's done, we can indeed reach the new dawn that was also referenced earlier today, because it's time for change. Time for change in a sector which has been through some trouble. I would tell you, I don't think anything I've just been talking about is news to you. What will be news to you is that the clients of the world want to join together to go, enough already. We must make some changes. We are going to use this media charter to demand some changes from the ecosystem, and we do that in the spirit of respecting our customers and consumers of everything that we do, and we do it with great honor here in Japan today. And I think, by the way, that I forgot to tell you that I'm wearing these because I've had an eye operation. It's not because I've got delusions of being a rock star. And anyway, can I end by saying what a wonderful conference and such a privilege to be back in this wonderful city. I was last in Tokyo 10 years ago, and what's incredible to see is the pace of change, but it remains one of the friendliest, warmest places in the world. So thank you very much for having us enjoy your afternoon.